Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing A-Level History Option 2J, America, a Nation Divided. We are nearing the end of Topic 2, but this is Growth of Northern Abolitionist Sentiment. In the background here, you can see how the growth of abolitionism has led to, I guess you could say, more enslaved people becoming free and earning their freedom, I guess. Anyway. Political leaders. On the left here, you have some political leaders. William Seward famously made a speech on March 11th, 1850, and he invoked a higher law than the Constitution, set out a moral stance against slavery and its expansion. His home was even a stop on the Underground Railroad, as we'll discuss in a later video, and opposed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which we haven't discussed yet, well, in the next topic. I was an unspoken opponent of the Dred Scott decision, which we'll also put in a later video. Charles Sumner, attacked by Preston Brooks, the Senate floor 1856, joined the Senate due to the Free Soilist support in 1851, and was a strong opponent of the Compromise of 1850, especially the Fugitive Slave Act. We're going to talk more about Bleeding Sumner in the next topic. Salmon P. Chase, he was a champion of the anti-slavery cause in the Senate from 1849 to 55. He left the Democrats to help form the Republican Party and was key in setting Republican ideology. And Thaddeus Stevens iconically made a speech, I guess, where he said, "This word, compromise, when applied to human rights and constitutional rights, I abhor." He was discussing the Compromise of 1850. He was a defense lawyer in the trial of 38 African Americans and 3 others who had implicated in the Christiana riot. Which was an attempt to enforce a fugitive slave law warrant, which resulted in the killing of a slave owner. Activists. In the background here, we got John Brown. Quite frankly, I could not be bothered to put the 3 other ones. However, they are still very important. John Brown is probably the most well-known, I guess. In 1850, a Fugitive Slave Act was passed. And in response to this, Brown founded a militant group to prevent slaves' capture. In 1855, he left for Kansas and would be involved in the violence of Bleeding Kansas, where he murdered settlers who spoke in favour of slavery. We're going to be talking a lot about this in the next topic. However, the specification does mention talking about abolitionists, so I sort of got to discuss it. Anyway, Lord Garrison promoted moral suasion, which was a non-violent and non-political resistance to achieve emancipation, and also began publishing The Liberator, and also later led the American Anti-Slavery Society. Douglas, not to be confused with Stephen Douglas, who was definitely not an abolitionist, also adopted this. Later broke from Garrison, believing that political activism was the only way to achieve freedom, but didn't use violence. Also pressured Lincoln to make slavery the single most important issue of the Civil War. So, a pretty good guy, if you ask me. And Sojourner Truth, one of the best-known esteemed black women of the 19th century, and she gained her freedom when New York abolished slavery in 1827. She was a pacifist and transformed herself into an activist for abolition, proclaimed her new identity by changing her name, which is not... Sojourner Truth is not her original name. Her anti-slavery activities included recruiting black troops, publishing her narrative, and winning a civil rights lawsuits. Popular literature in the press. Can't see it in the background, but that is a picture of Uncle Tom's Cabin. First, we're going to talk about the press. The Liberator, as already mentioned, published by Garrison. This lasted from 1831 to 65 and advocated for immediate and complete emancipation of all slaves. This was easier said than done, I guess you could say. The North Star, published by Douglas. This was not economically successful, And the Anti-Slavery Bugle, published from 1845 to 61 by James Barnaby. Sorry, I should say, not Barnaby. And Uncle Tom's Cabin, written by Harriet Beecher Stowe, highlight the injustice of the fugitive slave law and also the reality of slavery. It was a best-selling novel of the 19th century, and it was the best. It was the second best-selling book of the century, second only to the Bible. There were 300,000 copies sold in the US and 1 million in Great Britain. Cultural and economic influence of European immigrants in the North. So from 1845 onwards, over 2 million Irish moved to America after the potato famine, which caused over 750 deaths by starvation. And these Irish congregated in large cities in the northeast, like New York. The Germans, on the other hand, travelled to the Midwest in search of farmland and work because they're wealthier. They're sort of trying to fulfill their American dream, I guess you could say. At least what people tend to call the American dream. They settled in New York, Baltimore, Cincinnati, St. Louis, and Baltimore. I've put Baltimore twice. They practically built America from the ground up because of how much physical labour they did. Irish and German were Roman Catholic, and there were religious differences between different nationalities and ethnicities, so hostility erupted. Nativist political parties, who were anti-Catholic, wanted to prolong sort of immigrants the right to vote, known as Know Nothing Party, arose. They won control of state governments in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and California. And they also won elections in Maryland and Kentucky, and took 45% of the vote in 5 of the states. To be fair, that is pretty good considering what they were like very unpopular, and weren't even one of the main 2 previously. Pretty good if you ask me. Americans had a lot of stereotypes around the Irish. They felt they were stealing their jobs. They also felt the Irish were alcoholics and criminals, as well as ignorant, lazy, and dirty. Irish mainly voted Democrats, whereas the Germans voted Whig. Okay, so that's going to be all for today's video. In our next lesson, we should be finishing off topic 2 and then start moving on to topic 3, which is going to be the outbreak of the Civil War, I believe. But yeah, that's going to be all for today's video. Hope you all have a great day.